What's up, Dad?
What's up, Dad? What's up? What's up, Dad? What's up?
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Hey, it's Grayson Thompson here with What's Up, Dad again. We got the next episode happening here. Today, I have Tom with me. Tom is a fellow insurance agent out of Toledo, Ohio. He reached out to me, and honestly, this guy had a very compelling argument to get on this show. I'm not saying I got people fighting and everything, but he sent me a write-up afterwards, and I want to thank him for that. The last guy that you probably heard the episode for last week, or however, whenever you catch these in whatever order you're listening in, he had a phenomenal write up, and Tom did as well. And I want to shed light to these people because these guys, these dads that are out there, I want their stories to be heard. I want people to learn and get their advice is super important. But before I waste any more of my breath, I'm going to let Tom introduce himself. Tom, here it is.
Hi, my name's Tom Hudak. I live in Sylvania, Ohio, work in Toledo, Ohio. I've got one daughter. I'm a single dad. She calls me girl dad. She brags about that. And besides being a dad, I'm an insurance agent and doing one or the other all the time. But that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Tom, I really appreciate again you getting on here and being open to talk about different things and stuff like that. I always like to get to know people a little bit because Tom and I, unlike maybe other people that have been on the podcast, I don't really know Tom that well, and that's okay. That's kind of the beauty of this one cut. We had about 5 minutes talking before this, right? Like really talking about various things. We've chatted before in the past, like a few times, but never about dad stuff, right? So we're going to get really interesting today and whatever that means for you guys. And hopefully we can bring that dadly advice that you guys are looking for on today's or this week's podcast, right? So I'm looking through the list here. I always want to look for something interesting or something about people have on here. All right. Favorite board game this guy puts on here. Farkle. All right, Farkle. You put Farkle. My wife's family loves dice game. Is this a northern thing? Because I will tell you, I grew up in the South. We didn't play dice games. Is this a northern thing? Please help me know that it's a northern thing.
It might be. I don't know because I never played many dice games. I played Yahtzee with my daughter a couple of times, and we found Farkle, and we started playing. We just loved it. It takes 2 seconds to play. We started playing it in the car. We just have a little tray in the middle. She'll roll the dice, tell me what I have, and I'll tell her what to keep. And it's just something mindless that we can do together, and it can last forever. We can play for 10 minutes. We've got a whole book, a whole score book. We put the date in it, what our score was that day, and so we can look back someday. I mean, we've only had it for a couple months that we've been really getting into it, but to look back someday, hopefully, and it'll be pretty cool to have.
That's fantastic. You're like, oh, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. But we have a scorebook. See, guys, it's got to be a northern thing, right? That's like my wife's family has scorebooks when we play euchre and dice games and such. So it's got to be that. I mean, whether it's a dad to father or dad or a daughter game or whatever it might be, it's got to be maybe it's an Ohio thing. I don't understand it, but hey, I just thought that was interesting when I saw that on there. I was like, man, I got to ask him about it because my wife would probably kill me if I didn't. So, this is the first. So we have had on the episode, we have had a great grandfather, grandfather, he's actually a stepfather too, because none of those were his kids. We have had a godfather. We've had fathers in various levels, but you're the first single dad. So I appreciate you stepping out of maybe a comfort zone and getting on here, and we get to hear some different things, right? It's all about different experiences and understanding from people. It's not, and sometimes it's not always how you got there as to what you're doing right now, right? Like that's the reality. Sometimes, we could talk about the past, but really talking about the present and how you're present in your daughter's life is what's most important to help other dads out there understand, hey, I can do this. I can be that for my daughter, my son, whatever it might be, in whatever situation and whatever cards are dealt for you at that given time. So We're gonna hop right into it today because I feel really good about this one. I feel great about this topic and stuff. And I'm gonna ask what the most trending question going on right now. Okay, this is it. This one is tough. Okay, are there more doors or wheels in the world?
More
That's
doors
the question of the day.
or
We're
wheels?
gonna wrap. Yep.
I'd have to say doors would be my guess.
Okay.
Boats
So you're
have
thinking
doors
like,
more. Cars have most of the cars
how
have
many
door per
houses are
wheel
there in the
ratio.
world?
Right. How many wheels? A boat has one wheel, and how many doors does it have? Hatches, maybe. Well, are we
But
including
what
hatches?
about the trailer on the boat? What about the trailer in the boat?
Oh, I was thinking
What
ship.
about
So yeah.
RC cars? What about toy cars? What about your vacuum cleaner has wheels but no doors?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's. I mean, we can start defining wheels. We can start defining doors. I think I have a door on my vacuum. I couldn't go in there, but I'd call it a door.
Okay. See, that's the thing, right? So where I wanted to take this conversation is we can define being a dad in so many different ways. We can define a door a billion different ways. You're going to define it one way. I'm going to define it another. I can define a wheel in some capacity. Right? I didn't even think of a steering wheel, right? And you guys would laugh at me. I literally went like I'm driving a steering. Like, you can't see me. You can't see Tom. But like I look like I'm driving a steering wheel here. This is kind of funny. But your reality of it is like we have so many definitions of things, whether it's a door or a wheel, and sometimes we'll never be able to answer those questions fully. Like, there's not going to be a person. There's mathematicians that say they can guess it, right? Just like in the same way, being a dad or a father or a son or a mother and all that stuff is different. There's different definitions that we all kind of somewhat look at. And that's why I thought, you know what, as my first single dad to hit the episode, I wanted to talk terms of what makes it different being a single dad. I want to understand a little more. I'm not a single dad, right? And if you're okay to open up about that and tell me the things that makes it maybe more difficult or easier, how your struggles have been, and where you feel like you're doing an amazing job, right? And I want to understand that because I think there's things that we do differently. Obviously, I have a partner that, a spouse that's helping me with stuff. I don't have, I get to lean on them, but, as a single dad, you get to do everything. And I oftentimes don't know if I could do everything, right? Like, you're like a super person to me. Like, right? Well, like, honestly, a single parent.
Like you said, that was a great segue in how you would define things differently. So obviously there's different types of single dads. There's dads who are literally the only parent. I'm in a situation where I'm half the parent. I'm one of the parents in a whole different household on my own. So it brings up the dynamic of a relationship with a daughter, a relationship with an ex-spouse or a past relationship or something like that. And I love your explanation of, we define things differently, because I think in life so many times we don't step back and say that we're kind of talking about the same thing. We're using a different word, but we're really talking about the same thing. So let's talk about what we have in common. Let's talk about what, where we're on the same page. And so, yeah, I look at single dad. To me, it's interesting, and it's over. My daughter's 13, so we've had some time to make her roles. Her mom and I got divorced. She was about a year old. So it's about all she's known. And over that time, we've kind of gotten to our roles. Her mom has more of a traditional household for her. And her time with me is just more of adventures and going out and experiencing things that she might not get to do otherwise. And for me, I got a little partner who likes to go on adventures with me and things like that. So it's great trying to embrace everything that she has, never trying to undermine what she has from her mom, but at the same time trying to see anything else that she could maybe needs to grow into her own person in the world, and what can I bring to her to help her get that way. So it's exciting, it's different, and again, there's a lot of different ways to define it, and I appreciate you letting me talk about being a single dad, because just like insurance agents might get a bad rap sometimes, Used car dealers can get a bad rep. Single dads can get a bad rep. There's a lot of people out there who are just giving it their best, and whether it's other people in their lives or systems that are out there that are really making it difficult. And all they want to do is just be a dad to their kid and just give them the best childhood they can, help them grow up into the best person they can. And there's a lot more people out there trying to do that than they get credit for. So hopefully try to shine a light on that.
Man. Yeah, you are like that. Just it opens up so many doors of thoughts. Right, there's those doors again. Darn doors. It's got the wheels spinning. Oh my gosh, it's crazy, right? Because you know what you talk about, like it gives them a bad rap. Okay, social media, and I think I'll talk about this every week because we're doing social media right now. Social media is a podcast, right? Social media has given dads, in a lot of ways, a bad rap, right? It is an easy way for a mom or parent or co-parent or however you want to spell out anything, right? I don't want to say female, but we'll just say female. The mom. We'll give it the mom title, right? The ability to open up and completely destroy a lot of men's lives, fathers' lives, dads' lives, and make it very, very hard. And to see a dad out there that is as lively as you with this, and I'm sure it's not all cupcakes and rainbows, right? Like I'm sure it's tough. I'm sure it's tough being a single dad. You know what I mean? And a co-parent. I'm sure it's more difficult being a co-parent. I guess I don't know if that's the right terminology, so I apologize.
No, that's like there's a lot of labels. There's a lot of labels, and that was perfectly acceptable,
right?
So, yep.
Okay, all right, we'll go with co-parent. But if you want me to change it, I'll change it, right? So I'm sure it's extremely difficult being a co-parent because you have to co-parent, right? You got to ask somebody that you no longer have a relationship with if it's okay sometimes, right? Like you got to make sure you're on the same page with somebody that you don't agree with, and also stay within boundaries.
You do. You swallow your pride a lot. But that's in a loving married relationship. You swallow your pride a lot, and so to not expect to have to do that with somebody who you're trying to raise a kid with, whether you're together or not, I think that's where a lot of problems might come in. Is when we let pride take over, and we let maybe some of the problems in our relationships hinder us from where we're moving forward. Nothing matters except this kid. If somebody came up to you and wanted to do anything at all in the world to you in order to save your kid's life, you would do it. So why are you afraid to lose a little face with something if it's going to make your kid's life happier and a little more comfortable? To just swallow your pride, let something go that maybe you don't want to. But that's one of the biggest things that I think causes problems for people. It takes two people to really disagree. And as long as one person is trying, usually it can't get too out of hand. Obviously, there's people out there are crazy sometimes. But for the most part, just one person trying to be understanding can make a difference. And when you're listening to each other and, like you said, asking permission, I've been very fortunate. We always want to ask permission, but we pretty much are never going to say no. But it's a courtesy. It's letting know, or maybe it's yes, but I have this thought about it. But it's just about accepting, like everything else in your life. Treat that person the way you want to be treated. Don't treat them like crap and then expect them to roll over and give you whatever you want to do. Give a little. And like I said, the biggest thing is be ready to swallow your pride and have that your kid's face in there when you're looking at it. And it doesn't hurt nearly as much. It doesn't hurt at all, honestly, when that's why you're doing it.
Man, I appreciate what you were saying here. You said, and you just kept giving me like little bits of things that I'm like, all right, I want to mention this. I want to mention this. I want to mention this. You said it takes two people to disagree, to have a disagreement, or how did you say that?
Yeah, it takes two people to truly to truly argue and disagree. It takes two people. One person can say everything they want, but if you're not going to fight back, it can only get so far. So one person, it only takes one person, and usually that one person, it's a lot easier to turn it around if you're killing them with kindness and just be willing to take it, because they might have some things to be pissed about, whether they're right or wrong. We've all got emotions, so let them get their emotions out. Don't fight back on it, and then usually people are going to come around and say, okay, yeah, now where do we go from here? That's over with. How do we get back on track and take care of these kids? That's what matters.
Wow. Well, let me ask you a question. This may be a tad bit personal, so let me, but it might not, right? This might be a tad bit personal. Did you know? So you said you got divorced when your daughter was 1 or around 1. And I I'm not holding anybody to dates or times and stuff like that. However, you said around 1. So we'll just go with that. Were you this way at when she was 1? Did you have that mindset? How long did it take for that to kick in?
It was
Did
an
it kick in
evolution.
immediately or
Yeah, some of it did. I will say when I was going through a divorce and I remember hearing things third hand that my wife had said. Some of them were true, some of them weren't, saying to mutual friends. Some of them were maybe more exaggerated, not on purpose, but it really started to make me think, you know what? I'm not going to respond to this. What do I care if they think this about me?
mm,
Let her vent. Let her get over. This is emotional for both of us, and I'm not going to stand in the way of her having
mm,
her friends and them being there for her. So there was a little bit of that, but then over time, it definitely grew. And being a parent, you love your kids when they're little, but that and you do anything for them, but somehow how can you have all of the love and yet still later have more? And you're a dad, you know. I think you know what I mean. Like, so yes, it has grown. It so
yes,
has the knowledge and the maturity between being, I don't know what I was, like 25, 26, and being 40. There's a there's a bit of a difference there,
sure,
maturity wise. But
sure.
I always tried to start off that way, and then even if I didn't change my mindset, hopefully I've gotten better at it over time with some experience.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I don't think, guys. I mean, I see these questionnaires. I'll never put them out there for people to see. If Tom wants to share it, right? He can. However, sometimes you fact check things, right? And I will tell you, I fact checked as best as I can, right? Without asking Tom, hey, is this really what you mean? He's saying what he's put down, and last week's episode, you say and do should be 1-to-1, right? We all learned that. That's the 1-to-1 say and do, right? If you're going through the day and you say and do, and everything is 1-to-1, that guys, the Tom is saying and doing it right here. He's saying it. I mean, I don't see him doing it, but he's saying what he did, which is right. That I'll give him that much at least, right? So it's something to think about, right? It's a good segue to moving into this next part of the question that I have. That's kind of important, but it's honestly on the same lines. It gives other dads out there that may be going through a similar situation. Now, most of the people that have been on here have been married and currently married, whether it's 1, 3, 5, 10, 40 years, I think the oldest one was, right? So they have a different, maybe a different opinion on the marriage side. So their marriage side is a little, they talked a lot more about that. But I will tell you, what you see here is living hope that you can have a relationship with your son or daughter and not be married, right? And I think that's an amazing thing, because too much in a TV shows, social media, and everything in between that we have doesn't show that. It shows everything against what he's saying right here, which is that everybody can live in somewhat harmony in some capacity, right? Like we can all make this. Tom can do what he wants with his daughter and live a good life, and they can enjoy each other, which is an amazing thing. And she can learn from him, because one of the things we talked about in other episodes is we are giving our kids the future. We are teaching them the future. And if he were a bad dad, he would only be teaching his daughter bad habits and bad things to the future to come. And that's what I want you to understand as a dad that may be struggling to understand this role or how to be in this role, and just learn from Tom, because Tom is obviously showing that here, which is super important, and I appreciate that. So, Tom, you got anything to add on that, or can we keep on keeping on? Because we can. It's up to
That
you.
we can keep on keeping. I just want to share, if you don't mind, I have a little story about one of my most difficult times being a single dad that I probably am not the only one to experience. If you don't mind me sharing it, um, is
The floor is yours, my friend. The floor is yours.
I wasn't always the best at making sure I had enough time with my daughter. I would go and pick her up at certain times, but not enough. But that meant I would go to her mom's house and pick her up when it was my time to have her. And I'd show up at the house, and she knew I only showed up at the house to pick her up. And every single time I would
Mm,
go to get her, a couple times a week, I would walk in the door, and she would throw herself on the floor crying. And I got it. She's used to being with her mom. She knew she was getting pulled away from her mom, and I wanted that time with her. And I knew it hurt her, but I knew she needed it too. She needed both of her parents, even if it wasn't all at the same time. And it broke my heart a little bit, but it was easy because I knew that in half an hour she'd be laughing, we'd be playing, she'd be in my car, she'd be comfortable in her other safe space, and it was fine. But
Mm-hmm.
I still remember the first Halloween after I got divorced. I talked to her mom. I was going to go over and just maybe walk around the block, half of the block with her, and have my time for Halloween. She was all dressed up in her costume, and I showed up at the front door. Just wanted to spend 5 minutes with her, but she doesn't understand this. She starts screaming because she thinks she's going to leave. And I just put a smile on my face to her mom. No, no, it's okay. No, it's okay. But I know in her mind, she thinks she's being ripped away from this. She doesn't understand. I want to walk 5 houses and have a little Halloween with her. And I will say, I left. I drove halfway home and I had to pull over. I was just bawling, and it hurt. It hurt because it wasn't. I didn't get that closure. I felt like I heard her without her seeing that it could be better, and I know I'm not the only one who's been through that, and um, I know that plenty of other men have, and I just want to let people know. Write down the good times because honestly, I remember that story constantly. But there's another story that happened
Mm.
a couple years later that I forgot until I actually was going through kind of a diary that I had and wrote, and I found almost an identical story, but it was a positive one, and I never remembered the positive one until I read it. This was probably a couple months ago, and I remember reading through it, and I remember writing it after I saw it. It was a couple years later, and it had stayed like that, hysterics every time I went to pick her up. And one day I just walked in the door, and even when she would get picked up, she'd hug her mom 50 times and then go back, start to get to the door, go back for another hug. One day I walked in the house. She looked at me, walked over, grabbed her little Elmo that she always took everywhere with her, just walked out the door before I even got to the door. And that was the most joyous like moment in my life. My heart leaped, and I kind of looked at her mom and I was like, I guess bye, and just walked out the door like the happiest I'd ever been. I don't know if I've ever been that happy again. It was just seeing that realization that I was there for her, not to hurt her. But the contrast of those two stories, like I said, I wouldn't have remembered that second one if I hadn't written it down. And how sad is that? That in our lives, we remember the hurt much more than we remember the joy. So as a parent, single parent, and a parent at all, write down those good times. We have videos and cameras, and that helps a lot. But the emotions that we feel, don't be afraid to write those down because you're going to need those someday.
Mm. Might be the first person that's recommended to write stuff down. I lead on social media for that to save my moments here.
And that's
But we
the
share
same
the
thing.
good, the bad, the ugly too.
But you write
Yeah.
your feelings
Yeah.
about that moment in the picture. It's about adding more than just the picture, right?
And I can only imagine what you felt reading back on that moment, in a moment of whatever it was, right? Like that would be heavy. That would be unbelievably heavy to see that. I mean, because we always talk about you only have so many years with your kids, right? The reality of it is we only have so many years. You have 4 years at the beginning, and then it's a blur, and then I don't know what happens. Supposedly, right? I think maybe 5 out of it at the beginning, and then you blur out, and then all of a sudden it's like you got a couple years, and then they're gone. You know what I mean? And that's a scary, scary thing. And you're in that blurry, almost gone stage because, dude, you're just 13, right?
Yep.
I mean, you only got a couple years left, right? And then she's gonna be asking dad. She's gonna have a car. She's gonna have a house. She's gonna have friends. She's gonna get married, have babies. I mean, my goodness, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? Like, we only have so many years to make an impact on these kids' lives, and we cannot spend. I mean, to what Tom's saying, we can't spend our time dwelling on all the bad stuff that's gone on. Because don't get me wrong, my daughter has temper tantrums all the time. My second daughter has even more temper tantrums. And my son, oh my gosh, he's going to be a little punk. You know what I mean? I already know it. And I'm going to love it too. But, but there's also like a quadzillion big moments too and good moments. It's just, but me and my wife look at each other and sometimes we're like, darn, that was tough. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to live and do that. And, and I appreciate that story. Like, right. Guys, I'm going to reiterate. We don't preface this. He has zero idea of the questions and stuff. My next question was to highlight the things that we do, right? And now this is not much of a question as much of a statement. All right. I don't care if you're a dad, a father, you fit in any of the categories that we've gone over, right? You're still a parent, a dad, and you still do things, right? You still do things. You still are there for them. You still love them. You still care for them. You still show up. You still parade. You do everything for your kids, right? And one of the things that Tom has talked about is being consistent, being a dad, being there, right? You could have given up. You understood that she's going to have a temper tantrum every time you go to the mom's house and pick her up from mom's house, but you were consistent. You were there. And today she's going to remember that. I'll never forget. And a little bit of a sidebar on that. I remember when my parents got divorced when I was 13 years old, my brother was 15. My dad called my brother every single day. Freaking crazy. But thinking of that, like, cause I live with my dad, my brother lived with my mom. And, she would say supposedly he's probably going to listen to this and say, hey, I did, you know what I mean? And I'm not here to argue my parents, right? The reality of it is, but he did something every single day. And it's as much for you to provide the love and the understanding and something for yourself as it is for them. They'll look back on it and do things differently, right? I mean, every day I write my daughter a note, what I would consider as a love note to her, whether it's love from my heart. I write her a note every single day, and I'm going to continue to do that until like I run out of sticky notes, which is not going to happen, right? But the reality of it is, like, we do things every day to instill the love and just to be the parents that we can be. So, and I'm sure, Tom, you do things. I mean, you talk about going on adventures. What kind of adventures you guys like to do? What are they?
We rate
anything
everything.
Outside is what you put.
We love anything outside, but we tried to go see Wicked in Cleveland, but of the month and a half that was there, the two of the days, our day and the day before, got canceled. So we just finally booked it for Columbus. So that's going to be her first theater experience. I want her to be exposed to everything that's out there, good or bad. We love bad experiences because at least we knew we're trying, and we know we don't have to try that one again. But it means we're really going out there. We're trying everything. So I took her to this.
Hold on a minute. I gotta highlight that. Hold on a minute. I love that, guys. Here's hidden advice hidden in here. Hidden dad advice. Give me that again. At least we were trying. I love the bad experience. I got to hear that again.
I do. I love having a bad experience. And we both will sit there, and instead of sitting and complaining about a bad experience, we're like, man, I'm glad we tried this because we get 10 good ones for every terrible one. And when we get a terrible one, it means we're doing the right thing.
Yes, guys. Oh my God. That is like the epitome of it being a parent, right? I freaking love it. I freaking love that. Thank you. Anyways, all right, on to it. You said, what do you got next? What do you do? So you do Wicked, and then
we do that. We love we haven't been able to travel. I'd love to take her around the world. We can't do that. So we've been looking at different types of restaurants. Like, where do you want to go? There's a new Peruvian place. And we just call it, we're going to Peru. It's like, well, we don't really like Peru very much. We found that out. So we liked a little bit, but we didn't really like the octopus and the different stuff. And there's a Jamaican place that's been closed. Like, I want to take her to Jamaica. So if we can't actually go, we just want to experience that food and a little bit of culture you get from some of these family-owned restaurants, and just anything. Just exposing her to literally everything that's out there. I want her to see the theater. I want her to see outside, nature and the water, and we take opportunities. We have a local charity just posted they're looking for Easter baskets for some kids who don't have it. And we kind of did it at Christmas, but they just wanted gift cards. She got into that, but you can only get so into gift cards. But she's excited. We're going to go make some Easter baskets. And
that's cool.
I took her to, kind of a long story short, I was helping somebody host a trivia, and she kind of ran around, was picking up everybody's answers for them. And at the end, a couple people gave her a tip. And she was she was so excited about this tip. And I was like, that's great. You did something. And the reason she was so excited is she was going to put that money into these Easter baskets that she wanted to make, and she wanted to buy some more stuff for that. And just kind of getting that idea of you can take care of more than just yourself. There's so much to experience in the world, and some of the best feelings are some of the best foods, some of the best trips, some of the best experiences. And sometimes it's just doing some of the best things for somebody else. And all of that comes together to just
that's cool.
Make your heart full in different ways, but you got to have all of it.
Sure. Gosh. It's like how many doors and windows there are. We can argue about each kind of door, or doors and wheels, right? Like, I mean, the reality of it is you have found a connection with your daughter with doing different things. And I think that is a very unique take on, I cannot take her to show her the world, but I can show her the world. We're going to find those restaurants. That's cool. Right. If my wife weren't allergic to everything under the sun, maybe we do something like that with the kids. So, but that is so unique. You know, that's just something super special that you get to share with your daughter and bond and steal. Cause she's going to remember that. Like, she is now of the age, 13 years old. She's remembering that for the rest of her life. Mm-hmm. She is going to tell her friends that she's been around the world, that she's ate the Jamaican food, she's ate the Peruvian food, she's done all that stuff. And that's what matters, because Dad took her to do that.
I hope so. It's like you said, we only get so much time with them, right? And so I will tell you, I fight like heck every single day to keep as much of that time as possible while still preparing myself for what's going to happen and just making sure I'm ready. And like you said, you only get that much time, but if you can give them those memories, if they're going to look back on something positive when they're gone, you're keeping them for a little bit longer, at least in their hearts, even if they're not physically there with you. You're just keeping them there a little bit longer if they keep remembering all of those things.
Yeah, that is so true. All right, I got another question about your. We're a lot of fun stuff here. A lot of fun stuff, because you have definitely shown the adventurousness that you have brought to the table, and I have appreciated that. A different taste of conversation here. But you had put on your list. The question was, I'll give everybody what the question is, and I'll give you what the answer was. Have any weird habits or quirks? And this is typically for, what does your spouse or significant other not like about you, right? And it's funny, the responses I get. However, this guy says he put a pool in his basement and a climbing wall in his living room. I mean, let's be a pool in the basement. I'm loving it. You're an insurance agent, for goodness sakes. Who did you call to find out if that was okay?
I just am ignoring it. I'm ignoring that part. It's not a big pool. It's just a little pool. But what I say is,
that's funny.
Not a fan of the winters. I love the summer. I love being outside. And if we can't be outside, we just find little ways to stay inside and do things that we could normally only do outside. So it's got a little current in it. We swim and exercise and pretend we're somewhere warm and tropical, or get out and pretend we're climbing a mountain. It's not big, but they're just little things that remind us that those nice times are going to come around again, and we'll be out there, but we're not going to stop doing what we want to do just because the circumstances around us, the weather and everything else, aren't making that possible. Doesn't mean we have to stop.
If once we get off here, if you just make sure you hit up and tell me where you got this pool from, I'm going to hit up my wife. And we're going to find a pool to put in the basement. That's all I'm saying. No, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. Tell me about this climbing wall, because my girls would love that. How'd you do a climbing wall in the living room?
Just a piece of it's plywood, basically. Like, I think, I don't remember, like 3/4 inch plywood, I think. And I found some paint that was like deck paint. It looks like dark, like a rock almost. So I just painted that, and then just go online. You can find holds. So I've got some different holds, some harder ones, some easier ones. I just did a little bit. I want to expand it a little bit more, but
that's awesome.
Just something to go, and her friends like it when they come over, and they just go, and everyone wants to climb up a little bit. It's not much, but it's just something to keep your arms and your legs going, and just something you're not normally going to do inside.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Dude's got everybody, this guy's got a pool in his house, in his basement, and a climbing wall in his living room. I mean, what more could you be asking for? I mean, you talk about giving and making sure his kids, and because that's what it's about, right? Like, you look at I'm in the basement right now in our house, and this is where my home office is at. I literally have toys surrounding me. I have stuff with my kids and stuff like that. And that's what we do, right? Like, we literally, whatever we can do, the things we do to make sure our kids are happy, to be able to give to them so that they can just feel alive, right? Like, feel alive in ways that we know they can. And I mean, and this guy went the extra mile and a half and put a pool in his basement. I freaking love it.
I didn't even go the extra mile. I just went the other way because my basement's not finished. You can walk down there, and my basement is an unfinished basement. The pool is not finished. There's no siding on the pool. It was literally, instead of taking the money into making the basement look nice, I made it so you could swim in it, and it looks like absolute garbage. But that's me. I'm over the. It's all the choices. It's about my priority was the activity. Some people it's about the relaxing, and I get that because it looks like trash down there. But it's just a different way to go.
Not when you're in the pool. It don't look like trash. You look like you're in the Bahamas, bro. You're out. Yeah, that's where you gave your daughter the Bahamas, Clearwater Beach. You know, you need a little sand
I thought
walk
about
up.
yeah.
Perfect. Be like, there's some high intensity lights, and you'd be like, "What are we doing today? We're gonna go down to the beach."
Yeah.
You know,
Some palm trees.
that sounds good. We need a little sun therapy. It is, yeah, it is cold outside today. My goodness. So, all right. Well, any last thoughts or anything before we get to the most important question of the day, which is coming up, the dad advice that you have, or any type of advice that you feel is, I mean, you have given a ton of dad advice, single dad advice, single parent advice, but any, other dad advice you can have, but you got anything else you want to share with the people that you feel could be helpful and,
No,
top of
I
mind?
I appreciate you letting me come on and tell some of my story, and yeah, it means a lot to me. So thank you very much, Grayson. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No, it's no problem. I appreciate it too. Thank you for being open and willing to have these conversations. So I do think I know. I mean, I feel like I know a lot of single dads. You know what I mean? Or they're out there, but I've also seen a lot of stories of single dads that are struggling and stuff like that. And I hope that your story is an inspiration to them, and inspiration to fathers. Like, and other things. Like, I'm gonna figure out how to take my daughter around the world. I think that's super cool. My kids, like, I'm gonna figure it out. I think it doesn't matter what kind of dad you are or father you are. I think you take something away from this, and it's super important. So, any advice or anything that you want to leave the audience today?
Just the one thing I always live by, and it's not advice anybody hasn't heard, but just the golden rule, just really treating other people how you want to be treated. I really try to do that with my daughter's mom, and that works out well. And I try to do that with my daughter. I try not to lie to her. I try to be open with her because I've known since she was little, when she becomes a teenager, it's going to be tough to have that openness. And so I've always tried to be open to with her. Whenever we had tough conversations, I'd always ask her, "Do you want the kid answer or the grown up answer?" Because I wasn't going to keep the real answer from her. She didn't always want to hear it, and sometimes she just wanted the fluffy, fun answer. But I was always willing to be open because that's what I wanted from her. I knew that's what I was always going to want from her, is that honesty and openness. So just treat your kids like you want them to treat you someday, because they're going to be that age and they're going to be able to.
Yeah, no, man, I love it because that is, I don't know, almost feel like that's one of the golden rules, right? Treat people like you want to be treated. It's such an important thing, and we miss that. We miss that too often. I mean, the last episode I talk a lot about keyboard warriors, because we got a lot of them in the world. They got no problem being keyboard warriors and saying things that are hurtful, and that comes back to haunt you, whether you're behind a keyboard or in person with somebody. Understand that people have feelings, regardless of what you have to say. Sometimes you got to bite your tongue. So. I had a couple things that I wanted to share today. I usually have these off the cuff pieces of advice and stuff like that I wanted to share. And I thought these are little things that I picked up, that I saw things when I typed in things we do for our kids, because that was kind of today's somewhat of topic around the question of, are there more doors or wheels in the world? Okay. There are two things that we should give our children. One is roots and the other is wings. When I read that, I was like, dang, that's profound. However, I read this next one. Telling kids to follow their passion puts undue pressure on them. I was like, whoa, hold on a minute here. Kids don't know what their passion is. And I'm like, gosh, that to me just took me in a different way. I'm like, all right, I don't want to put undue pressure, because in today's society, all we have is pressure. We have a pressure to be the best parent, the best father, the best whatever, the best person, the best this, the best that. And at some point in time in your kid's life, pressure is going to be there, but don't let yourself be that pressure. Here's the last piece of advice that I think pulls it together. And Tom, I'm going to let you end it because I think it's important.
I just have a real quick on the pressure, on the passions, the pressure for passions. If I could just step in real quick. No, I just
go for it.
Instead of telling our kids to follow their passions, if we just do our passions and we follow our own passions and we bring our kids along, they're going to see it. They might not have the same passions, but they're going to see that passion and joy and happiness is important in life, and they're going to follow their own just by watching. We need to model more for our kids than tell our kids what to do. That's all. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. My guy, this is the statement I'm giving you right now. 100%, we are on the same page. 100%. It says, I think the single most important thing that I learned from my research in this is, I didn't research it, I'm just reading what this guy said. Okay. We cannot give our children what we don't have. If we want our children to have courage, compassion, and connection, we must practice these things in our daily lives. If we want them to love and accept who they are, our job is to love and accept who we are. Guys, that's exactly what Tom said right there. The way to show our kids passion, to challenge them to be passionate about something, is for us to do it. It's for us to do it, right? That's it. That's it, guys. I mean, that is the drop at that point in time. I mean, boom, right there. If I had those little fun keyboard things, I'd hit them and it'd make all these fun sounds like, but I don't, and it's okay. I mean, we were connecting there with that statement. So, Tom, I really appreciate you being on here. Appreciate you bringing a different level of advice and heat and things in other ways. It's much appreciative. Anything else you want to leave the people with before we hop off?
Nothing else other than my sincere thanks and gratitude. It's been a great experience, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Tom. Well, hey, everybody, if you have not, make sure like, subscribe, comment, share the post. Thank you for listening. Any feedback you have, and if you want to be on the What's Up Dad podcast, we are going to continue to have this. This is a weekly drop on Wednesdays. Don't hesitate to hit the link, fill out your information, and get with me. We'd love to have you on here. So thank you, guys, and we will see you on the flip side.
What's up, Dad? Hey, Dad, what's up?